The second RBA rate cut in as many months has now been passed on to customers of the big four banks to varying degrees, and economists are already eyeing an even lower cash rate. Sky News business reporter Chris Collar joins us now for more. Chris, we know that the market has been pricing this in for a little while, so how did it react to the rate cut?
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of days on the market, Tom, as the market really did get exactly what it was expecting yesterday from a 25 basis point cut. Despite that, it gave up pretty much all of its gain yesterday, losing about 0.5% in the afternoon into the close, closing flat. Now today, the story couldn't be more different. It's pushed 0.6% higher and it's regained almost 12-year highs. So yesterday everyone was saying, well, yes, we got the cut, but we weren't seeing as dovish a language from the Reserve Bank as we'd been hoping. That seems to have been overtaken today. People are pushing things a bit higher. The banks, of course, you mentioned those. They're trading pretty much flat, with the market not really surprised what's been happening there. Woolies, a big story today, pushing much higher.
Now, when we talk about the big four banks, of course, they're doing that familiar game, Chris, just taking turns. Who's going to play the villain and who's going to play the hero?
Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. In June, the villain was ANZ, passing on just 18 basis points out of a possible 25. That's not the case this time. ANZ has pushed through with the full 25 basis points in cuts. Now, we have had 2 interest rate cuts from the Reserve Bank in 2 months, so we can start to talk about things in terms of how much of the 50 basis points have the big four banks passed on to mortgage holders. And I can tell you that from ANZ, overall, 43 of the 50 basis points, NAB, 44 of the 50. From Westpac and CBA, a little bit of a different game they're playing here, between 40 and 50 basis points from Westpac, but that depends on what sort of loan you're on, whether or not you are an owner-occupier or an investor. And the same sort of story at CBA, between 44 and 50 basis points, but that depends if you're a principal and interest or interest-only borrower. So there's certainly a lot you need to know right now if you have a mortgage.
Yeah, there's never been a better time to have a real shop around as well.
Yeah.
I know when you look at the variable home loan rates of the big four banks, they are remarkably similar, but I am a cynical human being. Chris, I wanted to ask you as well, you mentioned Woolworths' price going up. They're going to spin off a few businesses. The big headline here, in a political sense as well, is getting rid of the pokies business. Yeah,
so it's interesting. That is absolutely the big headline here. They've been hounded for years about their exposure to gambling machines, pokies. They're saying that that's not what this is about. They're saying it's all about the dollars and cents for us. From a PR perspective, you'd have to say this is pretty good news for them, though. They are, as you say, spinning off their hospitality and their alcohol businesses. That includes Dan Murphy's. So these have traditionally been very profitable parts of the Woolworths business. But getting rid of them, it hasn't been disclosed whether or not that's going to be through a sale or a listing. Market's going to be very interested to know the answer to that. But it also means a kind of a doubling down here from Woolworths in the grocery space and a kind of a more pure play competition with Coles, which of course is separately listed now as well.
I guess it says they've got confidence in that business. On the pokies side, we know these things make a lot of money. They come with them a lot of opprobrium. So is it likely that one company buys up this side of the business holus bolus, or can you spin it off, hotel by hotel?
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to see how they do approach it. You'd expect that they're going to try and keep everything together to get the most bang for the buck. Woolworths is expected here as well to maintain a minority stake in whatever ends up happening with the pokies and the alcohol businesses and the hospitality businesses. So to say that they're washing their hands completely of the whole space, I don't think is quite right just yet. But certainly, as you were mentioning before, politically, this is a bit of a good look, you'd have to say, from a PR perspective too.